Hello, welcome inside the mind of Matt for another episode of Nerd Safari. Yeah, that's right, another episode of Nerd Safari, man. This time, I got me a bear with a laser. That's right, a bear with a laser. I'm going to get me a bear with a laser. I'm not kidding. We'll see. Make sure you watch the rest of this video. Stay tuned. We're approaching the bear's den.
What's up, man?
Hi, bear.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Come on in.
Alright, so I've made it safely into the bear's den, and this is Bear. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So Bear is actually Robert Anderson, as you guys might have seen him on some of my live streams. I've talked about him. He's actually going to be traveling out to Indiana with me in March to go to Murph and get to see everything that there, and he said he'd actually operate the camera, so we'll have a cameraman. But we're here because you have a laser.
Yes, I do.
And he's also like a graphic designer, and he's been kind of dabbling with one of my logos that I kind of threw out to the community to see if anybody was interested in making a logo for me. So he's done something up, and we're gonna do something on the laser. So we're gonna take a look at some of the stuff that he's got in his little makerspace, and then we're gonna check out this laser.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Square or round?
Square is cool.
Make it cut out like the shape of the brain. Yeah, that's granite.
I see that.
Right here we have our Delta 5 lap timer. We use this for our drone races. This tracks the laps of pilots, and it can track up to 5 different people. This way I have it set up right now. But I laser cut this whole box out of MDF and designed it all on the computer. It's got a piece of acrylic on the top with our logo up there, and I got some LEDs over here. We can plug it in and check it out, but it's got LEDs in here and it lights up this logo. It runs on a Raspberry Pi and some Arduino boards and some receivers, so it tracks the pilots on their video channels instead of using a transponder. It's got a little fan in there. The first day we actually used this was on one of those 90-degree days in the summer. It was 100 and something actually. And it didn't turn off once, and it ran fine the whole time, so it's got decent airflow. We got another port there with the connectors for the Raspberry Pi, and I have it hooked up to an XT60 connector, so you can plug a 4-cell LiPo into it and run it off a battery. I also added a voltmeter so you can see the voltage of your battery so you don't run your batteries too low. All laser cut. Alright, so we got our logo up here that we're gonna laser engrave and cut out of a piece of birch wood. So we got our different layers here with the YouTube logo and the new logo that I made up for Matt. And we're gonna scan our logo here, and here's our setting right here. So we're gonna scan at 300 millimeters a second. And our output power is going to be about 23%. And these settings right here, this is the line interval. So when it does one scan pass, it moves up 0.085 millimeters to do the next line. This is basically a resolution. And after 0.085, if you go any lower, you start to get overburn. Where your layers start to overlap and you get really deep engraving, but it also takes a really long time. So I think we got all of our settings pretty much done. The second layer here is a cut, and we're going to go 5 millimeters a second and at 65% power. And that blue line is where it's going to cut it out. And we'll send it over the laser. And then we're ready to move on to over there. Before we start going on this, do a daily maintenance. It's always good to clean the lens of the laser because you get smoke buildup, and then once there's smoke buildup on the lens, it actually starts to burn, and it'll crack your lens, and they're not very cheap. And it's a lot easier to buy these wipes than it is to replace a lens every so often. And you won't notice it right away either. You'll just lose power, and you won't be cutting anymore, and you'll be wasting material in the same process.
And what size laser is this on here?
This is a 50 watt laser, 50 watt CO2 laser. I believe this is a 2-inch lens. The 2-inch comes from the focal length, not the actual size of the lens. I try not to touch the lens at all. I always try to use the wipes. Drop that little piece back there. Of course I can't find it. Oh, I see it. And we're gonna put the lens back on there. Put that back up there. Tighten it down, and then this tube is for my the air assist. When you're engraving and you see flames, it's not actually the laser that makes the flames. It's the fumes coming off of your material that actually ignites, and that requires you to have air assist. It blows those fumes away enough to where they don't ignite, and you don't get burn marks on your project. This guy's got to be angled to the back, otherwise when you get up into the front of the bed it can hit and crash on the front of the bed there. We got our piece of birch here. This is just 1/4 inch birch that I get from Lowe's typically, and we gotta raise our bed up here. And this little guy is a gauge actually, and that's the distance from the tip of this nozzle to your material. It's the focal length of the laser. It's just like any other light where the light will bend and your focal length, the actual laser will be thicker. So that's the perfect length of the smallest dot that the laser will create. So now we're gonna hit our frame button, and this will give us the outside distance of what we've already sent to the laser. And that's going off a little bit. We're gonna just move it back a little bit. I try to use up as much material as I can, so I always try to get in the corner, and a lot of the wood is warped, so I learned this from 3D printing actually, leveling your bed. So you just take your thing and then you move it around to where, and you can actually see how it's got some slop on that side now. There's not really much that I can do, except I know that it's going to start at this end, so I will actually move it down to this end, and as it engraves up towards the top more, I'll move it up so that the focal length is about right. But with regular engraving, it's not going to affect this image too much because there isn't really too much detail in it. Do one more frame, and that red dot that you see there is only a marker. The CO2 laser, the laser beam, you can't see with the naked eye. So a little red dot is just a marker laser, so you can actually see where it's going to go. And I usually check it first. You can just hit it real quick, and you can see in that red dot where that little beam is going to go. So I just turned on the power to the laser, which also kicks on the fume extractor that's in the back of the laser, and I also turned on my water pump for the liquid cooling, and that is the air assist. It's a little air pump, and helps with the fumes. So we got our liquid cooling reservoir here, and it heats up quite fast. So I don't have an industrial chiller because they run about $2,000 for a chiller. So we do ice right in the reservoir. And this keeps the temperature down. As the temperature rises up a little bit, the power output will actually be less. So we want to make sure that that's a consistent power. I've got everything on. We're gonna start this job up. We just hit press start, and it goes. see like how it's missing, yeah. And sometimes also with these, the plywood, you can never get consistent material. That's the only problem with buying it from Lowe's, is that they get different types of wood in all the time, and depending on
hey, that's better.
Yeah, depending on the glue that they use or how much or what is, because the glue does not like the laser very much. But this probably is cut out enough that we can pop it right out of here. And also, sometimes I'll grab my, I got my kit right here. And I'll help it. I'll help it a little bit with some of these spots that aren't just cut all the way, because it's really just like pretty much one layer that isn't cut. Some of these bigger spots I'll definitely try to help. That is going to be a pain. Yeah, we can clean up these edges a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But it's either not cutting. There's a couple different reasons that it could not be cutting all the way through, and I think one of the main reasons is that my machine is about a year old now, and typically the life expectancy on these particular machines are only 6 months, or maybe even less, depending on how well you've actually taken care of your tube and know not to run too much power to it or run it too hot. There's multiple things that you can do to shorten the life on it. But I'm due for an upgrade anyway. I'm buying a size bigger tube actually for my machine. Instead of 50 watts, it's going to be 60. And the tubes that come in these machines are actually only rated, they sell them as 50 watt, but they only actually output about 40 or less. So 60 watt is going to be awesome. I'll be able to cut this a lot faster and cleaner once I get the upgraded tube. But there it is. There's that cool little sign.
So man, that turned out really awesome. What do you think? So lasers are cool. So once again, you can find Bear Design on Facebook, right?
Facebook.
He does do some drone stuff. You got a couple of drone videos up too on
Yes,
YouTube,
I do.
right?
Yep.
So I'll put links up here and down in the description so you can check it out. And you actually can do custom orders. So if you have something that you'd like laser cutted or laser engraved, then hit him up and check him out. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Keep on coming back because there's going to be more inside the mind of Matt. Happy printing, be safe pouring, and wear safety glasses when you're operating a laser.
Yeah. Thank you.